My accusation is the six-figure mentors deceive and manipulate people into joining something of far less value than what they pay for. The famous writer Mark Twain once wrote, "It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled." That, in my opinion, is why the six-figure mentors is still around today. So let's say you click on the ad and enter your email address to receive the free video series. What we can't afford to do is underestimate the people who are selling you the message behind the SFM. Their ability to win your trust and belief plays a huge role in all of this. But I would warn anybody in advance to consciously separate the ideology that they share from the actual product that they're selling you. They show you statistics that explain inequality. You're shown that while corporate profits are increasing, relative employee wages are actually decreasing. You also learn that technology is taking away the need for many traditional jobs. You're introduced to the idea that the world has fundamentally shifted and that technology will decide the winners and losers. They'll show you the digital economy and how it has separated itself from the traditional economy since the 1980s when it began. For perspective, they'll show you how the traditional employee model works, where you trade your time to provide a service to the customer, from whom the profits flow into the company that you work for, who then allocates a wage back to you. Armed with the knowledge that corporations are taking in more of the profits, the traditional model now has more context for us to consider. Which brings us to the digital economy model, where you build a system that works for you. A system that provides value and attracts customers and their money to it, while you have more time to do the things that you want to do. In other words, your time becomes your time, and your money becomes your money. The digital economy is certainly viable and absolutely real, but when it comes to comparing the system that attracts us versus the system that the SFM are trying to sell us, I definitely have issues. The major part of your direct financial success with the SFM involves influencing the recruitment of new members into the SFM, who will then be expected to do exactly the same thing if they are to be successful. As an advertiser for the SFM, the degree to which your message is received is determined by how much money you spend on your advertising and production. I believe that the amount determines heavily as to whether you come across to your target audience looking like this, or more like this. The general rule is that the more recruits you bring in, the more successful you can be as an affiliate, which basically means a one-to-many relationship between you and the other members of the SFM community. And money can only travel upwards, so if you're not bringing multiple recruits in, then you're bleeding money every month, and you're going to start to question more and more as to whether this thing is worth holding on to. So based on this idea that you can potentially make all this money from one member, on the surface it is an attractive proposition to join. And if we look at an example of conversion statistics for the SFM, at first glance those statistics even look quite reasonable. That is, until we reconfigure those statistics to relate back to just one variable, your leads. This will then tell you what percentage of those people who actually clicked on your ads and entered their email addresses are likely to purchase at each respective membership level. Any new person or group from the outside are naturally going to have a far greater chance of noticing the advertising of the person who recruited you, rather than noticing your advertising, if you're not willing or able to invest similar amounts of money into your own advertising. You might think that you can scale your income as you grow, but this assumes that all returns are linear. So if I were to put in $100, then I'd get $200 back, and if I was to put in $400, then I'd get $800 back. But it just doesn't work like that. The graph will be more curved like this, because your marketing results are dependent on conversion statistics. You're not likely to see any returns unless you start from a minimum investment point. And at this point, if you know their business model relies on a certain number of people to fail, are you really willing to go ahead and do what it takes to succeed financially within their system? Because if you're not, you're left with a product that their large dropout rate would suggest is not worth its value in money. So with all of the above considered, you start to realize that your position with the SFM will never likely be as the person who is creating the system that draws in the people, but merely as one of those people who was drawn into the system to feed the people who brought you in. And this is crazy, because if true, it would mean that they're pulling you into the very problem that their anchor claims that it can help you to avoid, being a victim of inequality. That would be so deceitful if it was the case. The possibility that the very people who are selling the SFM to you would be the exact people who would be benefiting the most from your investment, all while knowing that you're likely to lose your money. That's kind of like someone offering you marriage counseling just so they can meet and then have an affair with your partner. Look at the new member orientation as a sales pitch rather than a welcoming party. So you finally sign up to be an essential member with the SFM and book a place in the new member orientation. The new member orientation is about 4 hours, and I believe that this isn't by mistake. If you arrived to the new member orientation and straight away the SFM floated the idea to you to upgrade your membership, you would probably ask them where the nearest exit is. But at the same time, the new member orientation is probably the best opportunity for them to upsell you to the more expensive memberships, because you're still carrying the momentum from the 7-day video series. In order to do that, they need a bit of time to keep your hopes high, but also to manage and readjust your expectations. So you'll hear a number of sentences that sound a bit like this. With this business system, anything is possible, but it will take a lot of time and hard work, and success is not guaranteed. So in one sentence, not only have they managed to keep you excited, but they've also managed to adjust your expectations and remove their own accountability if you do fail. And you're probably going to be okay with that, because your mind will still be dwelling on the first part of the sentence, that with this business system anything is possible. The reason for this is to do with something called confirmation bias, which is the tendency to search for, interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs while giving disproportionately less consideration to alternative possibilities. The confirmation bias is a huge factor. It pretty much means that the SFM can tell you everything that they're obligated to once they've placed the anchor from which you can refer your bias to. Because your desire to reach that goal is so strong, you'll ignore important information that heavily relates to your chances of success. And your vulnerability to the confirmation bias will be dependent on the power of that anchor that has attracted you to the SFM in the first place. Being offered the means to build your own online business with their help, and in the process learning to separate your time from your money, it's a powerful anchor. And you're going to do it with the SFM because you'll believe that you can achieve success quicker with their help rather than without it. And that's the key. Your desire to achieve that goal as quickly and effectively as possible will influence you to pay more and more money to realize the dream that the anchor attracts you to. Beginning of the orientation, you'll likely be thinking that essential membership is all you need to get through the door. And it is. But over the course of the 3 to 4 hour new member orientation, you'll realize that you'll also need another key to get into the kitchen, another for the living room, and another key for the bedroom. And success is in the attic, which is right above the bedroom. So although they might say that you have a chance of reaching your goal of success with SFM Essential, they'll also say that you have an even greater chance of getting closer to that goal if you upgrade to SFM Elite level membership. They'll tell you that you have an even greater chance of reaching success if you upgrade to DEA level membership. And there it is. You're in their sales funnel, and it's the anchor that attracted you, as well as your desire to believe in what you want to believe in, that is pushing you further and further inside of it.